Hey guys, what the frick is up? Okay, I have refilmed this intro like multiple times now, so that's why I sound weird. But we are back with the freaking pod. I am so excited for today's episode because today we're talking about a topic that I get a lot of concerned comments about. Okay, well, first of all, little life update. I am in LA. This is my new room if you guys are watching the video version of the podcast. And I love it here. I'm having so much fun, and surprise, I am gonna start making these podcasts weekly. I just I was sitting in a cafe the other day and I had this like burst of productivity and energy, and I was like, you know what, we need to have these more often because you guys have been commenting that you want more podcasts, so now I have to deliver, and I think we're gonna make them a weekly thing. Today's topic is something that I get a lot of concerned comments about, and basically, we're going to talk about hanging out alone. We're doing it. We're talking about it, okay? I just wanted to talk about this because I get a lot of weird comments online about it. Like, I always get comments whenever I make videos, like my little self-date videos or how to spend time alone videos, or my vlogs where I spend most of my time alone. People will comment on those videos and be like, are you okay? This is sad. Like, do you even like have a life? Like, people are so freaking mean, you guys. But anyway, it kind of struck a chord with me because I'm like, hold on. Do people not think this is normal? Like, it occurred to me that, first of all, I used to be one of those people who could never hang out alone. Like, I would get so freaking bored. But second of all, it's kind of sad that people think that that's a weird thing. So I wanted to talk about it in today's video, and just the concept of being alone but not being lonely or not being sad. It's not like a sad thing. And so I just wanted to talk about that because that's not the way I used to think about it. I used to hate being alone. I used to hate it with a passion. Like, I did not want to have any alone time growing up. Okay, I was the kid who like hated summer break. Okay, I was that freaking nerd because I loved school so much. Like, growing up, I would hate the idea of summer, and all I would want to do is go to school to be surrounded by people all freaking day. When I was younger, I literally hated being alone. Like, I was somebody who, I think it was because I didn't grow up with like a lot of friends, so I just really hated being alone. Like, I hated sitting at home with no one to hang out with, and I just really thought that like to have a fun time, I would need to have friends around. And I feel like this is also a thing just like when you're younger, like you're just like, you need to be hanging out with people all the time. Like, school was literally my distraction from everything, and I hated summer because it would take me away from school, and I liked having something to do every day. Like, I was just really bad at being alone, like, as a kid. And even when I was like a little bit older, like going into high school, like I felt like I had to be having plans every weekend or it wasn't a good weekend. Like, if I didn't have plans with my friends on a certain weekend, I would be like, this weekend's gonna suck. Like, I have nothing to look forward to. And it's so crazy to me now because I don't look at it that way, like, at all. But back in the day, I was literally somebody who could not spend an entire weekend alone in high school. Like, I was the person who was texting people like, oh, do you want to hang out? Do you want to do this? Like, just because I would be so scared of having like a dead weekend where I wasn't seeing people or doing things. I also think it's because I'm an extrovert. I get my energy from hanging out with people. So it's really fun for me to do that. And when I'm not with people, like, growing up, I just think I didn't even have a side of me developed that could be alone because, again, I thought it was like lonery, and I thought it was weird, and I thought it would make me like less cool of a person to spend time alone when I could be hanging out with friends. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how I thought back then, which is really weird because I don't know. I'm so different now, and it's crazy how much like you change throughout the years, but it's just insane. I think my first taste of being alone was when I went to college because I was suddenly in a place where you kind of have to be alone. When you go to college, it's like you don't really have an option. Like, now everyone has a different schedule, and you're not like in high school where you're going from class to class with like the same people. College is like you have 2-hour class periods and they're scattered throughout the day. So then you have downtime where you don't have class, and you live in like a dorm and you have to go get food, and like there's just so many more opportunities for you to spend time alone when you're in college. So I feel like when I got to college, I spent a lot more time alone, but I still didn't enjoy that alone time. Like I would do things alone, but it's kind of just more because I had to, not because I enjoyed it. I think for me, the first time that it shifted was my sophomore year of college, because I was going through a terrible breakup. What else is new? Just kidding. In the beginning of my sophomore year of college, I was going through a bad breakup, you guys. It was terrible. And I think that was the first time that, yes, I still had like a few friends that I liked to be around because they kind of knew what was going on with me and blah, blah, blah. But basically, I was really, really sad. I remember feeling so isolated and lonely, even when I was like in a group of people. I just felt like nobody knew what was going on inside my head. I felt like my whole life was freaking falling apart. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was like, I am still in love with this person and we broke up and I feel like crap. And if you guys know that like breakup pain, it freaking hurts. Like when you're going through a breakup, like it just feels like you can be around people, but you're just kind of in your own world. And it's crazy. But I would be hanging out with people and I just started to find it really draining. I guess because I was putting on like a face when I was hanging out with people. I wasn't truly happy, you know, but what are you going to do? Sit there and cry in front of your friends? No, you know what I mean? So I would kind of have to put on this face whenever I was socializing. And I think that was the first time for me that it felt kind of draining to be around people. So I would start isolating myself on purpose, like going to do things alone. I remember I wouldn't really like try to spend time with my friends. I would like want to be alone because then I could really like soak in my sadness and not have to put on any sort of front with the people I was hanging out with. You know what I mean? So I feel like that was my first time where I chose to spend time alone and not be around people constantly. And I was really isolated and sad. So again, I don't think I was at the point where I was enjoying this alone time. It was just the first time in my life that I decided that I should be alone more often. Then flash forward to freaking COVID. This is now the middle of my sophomore year. So that was the beginning of my sophomore year. And then in the middle, we all got sent home. Because it was COVID. And dude, I think COVID is the thing that really altered everything for me, because before that, obviously, I never enjoyed spending time alone. And it was one of those things where I had no choice but to be alone the majority of the day, because I was living back at home. Everyone in college was sent home like this like crazy rush. Like no one even took stuff from their dorms. It was so crazy. And we all just went home. And we had silence for like 3 months. It was so crazy. I remember we didn't get our stuff from the dorms for like 3 months straight. Like they wouldn't even let us return to school to grab our things. And COVID was the first time that I really had no other choice but to be uncomfortably alone. And I remember that was when I was really getting into TikTok. So I would really invest a lot of my time in that. But I just started to find myself like enjoying being alone. Like it did take a while. It took a lot of adjusting. And at first, spending time alone for me was really boring. I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. Again, like I was kind of reverting back to my old mindset of being a kid and being like, I want to hang out with people. But you really had no option in COVID. So I would just like make myself really busy with TikTok and filming videos. And I got really into that. And then of course I was doing like online school. But after a while, COVID kind of died down. People were allowed to come back to school in my junior year. And I started to notice a shift where I didn't want to go and see my friends, and I didn't want to go out, and I didn't want to drive to school and hang out with people. And I enjoyed staying home and being alone and doing things that are just things that I wanted to do by myself. Like I started forming these like little routines. Like I would go to TJ Maxx alone, or I would go take Instagram photos and get a coffee alone. And I think it was something about romanticizing it and thinking of it as self-care instead of this scary thing of like, oh my gosh, I'm alone and I'm bored and this is terrible. Once you start to romanticize it and be like, this is so fun because I get to be fully myself. I get to do whatever I want. I don't have to compromise with anybody else what we should be doing right now. And I just get to kind of recharge. I started looking at being alone really differently. And I think I started to really enjoy it. And I don't know. After things went back to normal, after the pandemic and everything, I returned with this new view on things. I started saying no to a lot more plans. I was a lot more picky about who I was friends with. And I started having these standards for like what I want in a friend. And I would start like cutting people off a little bit if they didn't match that. Because I realized that I would rather spend time alone and genuinely enjoy that time and be by myself than be around people who might not really be there for me. I chose to hang out with myself over fake people because I realized that they're not genuinely there for you. And yes, like back then, like I used to think that having plans all the time made you cool and having plans all the time was the only way to have a good day. But when you really, really think about it, if you're spending your time with people who don't even value you or who are only there for you when things are going well or who are kind of fake friends, like overall, yes, you're not alone and you are hanging out with people, but it doesn't mean you're having a good time. And it doesn't mean that that time is being used usefully. And it doesn't mean that it honestly doesn't make you cooler either. Unless you're spending time with people who you genuinely enjoy and who fill your cup up and who make you feel fulfilled and happy, it's not worth it to spend your time with other people just so that you're not alone. I think that choosing alone time and going on self dates and being alone is really uncomfortable for people who are like me, who thought that they could only have a good time if they're with other people. And I get a lot of comments that say that hanging out alone is sad. And whenever I post vlogs being alone, that this is like sad and depressing. Like, no, think about it. If you're hanging out with yourself and you're genuinely able to be your best friend, that is amazing. What is sad is if you cannot spend time by yourself because you genuinely don't love yourself enough and you have to be around other people to distract you from the fact that you don't love yourself enough. That to me is what is sad. So when people comment like, oh, this is so depressing, I'm like, it's kind of sad that you can't spend time alone, that you can't just hang out by yourself, find something that you really enjoy doing alone, enjoy your own energy, work on yourself. I feel like spending time alone gave me so much time to work on things that I really wanted to accomplish. Like I got really invested into making videos and TikToks, and that's when my TikTok account kind of blew up in 2020. And I don't know what my life would be like right now if I didn't, have that time alone to work on my own things. Like having time to yourself is necessary for growth. If you're constantly hanging out with people, you're not growing as a person in your own way without the influence of other people. I think it's really important to spend time alone because you kind of develop your own personality and like your own goals and like what you want to do. And you're not hearing input from everybody else all the time. Like it's really important to just sit in silence and think about what you want for yourself without anyone in your ear telling you what you should be doing with your life. It's uncomfortable though. I'm not going to lie. Being alone is something that you really have to get used to. It's not like, it doesn't feel normal at first. It feels really uncomfortable and low-key boring and just kind of like blech overall when you start hanging out alone. I'm not even gonna lie. It took me a lot of adjustment, like a few months to get used to and enjoy time by myself. But I think it is so important to hang out alone now that I've gotten to the point where I go on self dates and I choose to be alone and I say no to plans to be alone because it grows your confidence so much to be able to say no to certain plans and prioritize yourself. It gives you this newfound confidence when you choose yourself. You kind of choose to hang out alone and invest in your own energy if people aren't benefiting you. It also grows your confidence because you have time to work on things without anybody knowing about them. Like, you have time to build your skills in certain things. If you really want to start running, and like, you make that something you do when you're alone. Or for me, like making videos, like this is something that I do and I have to be alone for it. And I freaking love it because it's just time for me to recharge, and it's just something that I really love. Being alone kind of forces you to find those little things that you really enjoy about life that you can do alone. And it's just like such a beautiful thing once you get to that point. It also gives you time to think about like what kind of person you want to be and recharge that energy when you're by yourself with nobody else. Because I feel like when you're socializing all the time, you don't really get the chance to cultivate your own energy. And this is going to sound so weird, but like, I feel like I only found my true personality and a lot of things that I didn't know about myself when I started hanging out alone, because it's like really uncomfortable. But then you just like learn more about yourself the more time you spend alone. And I know that sounds weird. Like, you're probably listening to this like, I know who I am, Nikki. I don't need to spend time alone to figure it out. But when you're just stuck in that silence and you're forced to find ways to entertain yourself, you're forced to do things for you and just think about what you want, like, you discover so much more about yourself than you knew before. It's just really helpful to form your own personality without being around other people or kind of morphing your personality into your friends. Like, you can really learn to be your own person. And I think that's like the beautiful part of it. The other part of being alone is the romanticizing part of it, which now I do and I freaking love, which is dating yourself. Like, this is so freaking fun once you enjoy your alone time. Going on self dates is something that I literally prioritize. I put it in my schedule and I make sure that I do it at least probably once a week, because that's what life is about. It's like finding those things that you can do and being self-sufficient and not needing friends or not needing anybody else to have a good time, not needing a significant other, not needing anybody but yourself. And being your own best friend is like truly such a beautiful thing, because it just like gives you this really warm feeling when you genuinely love yourself and you love hanging out by yourself. I don't think I ever had this much confidence before I started hanging out alone, because it gives me so much time to do my affirmations and tell myself that I love who I am and I'm beautiful, and think about the goals that I want to achieve and just really, really solidify who I am in my head. I also feel like that helps you not get your satisfaction from other people. I don't really know how to phrase this, but do you know what I mean? When you're like looking for that validation, validation's a good word for it. When you're looking for that validation from other people and you're kind of like waiting for other people to notice these nice things about you, waiting for other people to praise you, waiting, and you can only have a good time with other people. Like, when you spend more time alone, you learn to get all of that from yourself. And you don't need to recharge from other people telling you all these things. Like, you give yourself that love and you're so much more independent and confident. It also helps you be more picky about who you spend your time with, because now you have something else to be doing. You have, your alone time, and it makes you evaluate who is worth my time and who is not. Whereas if you're just looking for plans all the time, you're going to accept whoever you can get. And you're probably going to put up with stuff from friends, like toxic stuff that you wouldn't have put up with otherwise if you're okay with being alone. Because now that I enjoy my time, it's like, if you're not going to benefit me as a friend, if you're not going to be there for me, if you're not going to help me grow, then I'd rather be alone and I'd rather be off by myself. Another little random thing that I think that is like the most beautiful thing about it is genuine like human connection that you get when you force yourself to be alone and be present. Like, I didn't realize how freaking cute the world is until I started living alone. And then I would go out into public, like a little coffee shop, and I would just have like a little conversation with the barista. And I found out that the barista grew up and his dad worked for Maroon 5 or something. I don't know. This happened to me the other day and it was really cool. Basically, you just hear these like little life stories, or you'll have these little moments where like you're connecting with other humans, and it's just so freaking cute. And you don't get these like moments unless you're like alone and present and like in the moment. And I think these are like the most beautiful things about life, is just like connecting with strangers sometimes. This sounds so freaking weird, but like ever since I started living alone, like I live for this. Like having these little conversations on the street with somebody, or like meeting somebody's dog and then you're talking to them for a little bit, or you're in a coffee shop and like you and a bunch of strangers start connecting. Like it's just the cutest thing in the world. I'm actually trying to remember. Oh, so I was at a cafe the other day and I was talking to the guy taking my order, and he was saying that his dad did like lawn services for Maroon 5, and then he said that the first time that he tried arugula was from the drummer of Maroon 5's garden, and he was like a little kid and he hated it. But like what kind of, like, I don't even know, like life is just so magical. And like if I was on my phone, or if I was hanging out with somebody, I probably would not have started this little conversation with this guy who was taking my order. And it's just like these little moments where you're like connecting with somebody, and then you go about your day and you just feel like so happy and like so content that you just like met this person and talked to them for a few seconds. Like that is what I live for. And it's just like another really cute part of spending time by yourself, because you're more open to these little movie moments that like life is all about, and like connecting with strangers and like actually just being a human. So that's like another little perk that I really love about it. And it's just like so freaking cute to me that humans are like this, and we just like connect in these little like strange ways. But it's so true. I don't know. Being alone just helps me like view the world in a different way. Like I will literally walk around with my headphones in, on my hot girl walks, walking around, looking at the world, being like, this is the most beautiful vibe ever. Like, look at this beautiful place I'm living in, and look at this, like the song with the walk and the general vibe, and just like thinking about things that I'm grateful for. Like it is such a fun time, and like I just have so much fun alone. I don't even know. If you guys need ideas on what to do to start spending time alone, I highly recommend going on walks, because it's just like time for you to really be alone with your thoughts. And I promise, I know it's uncomfortable at first, but once you get used to being alone, you will just freaking fall in love with the world and love just that feeling of I'm by myself and I can do whatever I want, and I don't have to listen to anybody or answer to anybody or think about anything that I don't want to think about. Like it's just so much fun. For me, I think walks really help me be alone more, because they're just fun. Like you can play your music, you can think about whatever you want. I think about things I'm grateful for. I think about like what goals I want to achieve, and it's just really refreshing and fun. Another thing that I'll do is like try out new coffee shops, because I feel like that's just a really fun way to be alone. It's like going on a little adventure, or do something out of your routine that you wouldn't normally do, and just like force yourself to be completely present and alone, and just see how you like it. See if you like the vibes. And if you don't like it, kind of think about why you don't. I challenge you, if you're one of those people that feel like you can't be alone, to just do something out of your routine, like a little adventure. Like try a different coffee shop, or go to the beach, or I don't know what you have near you, or whatever, but try out like a new food place, or get a bunch of little self-care things and have a little self-care date at home. Like there are just so many things you can do, and I can think of more and like do some like TikToks on this, but there's so many things you can do alone that are just like the cutest little vibes in the world. And I think that if you learn to fall in love with being by yourself, you will just be so much happier and so much more confident overall, to be honest. That is my freaking rant about being alone and how freaking nice it can be. I just really want to explain to you guys that just because you're hanging out with other people doesn't mean you're happy or not lonely. You know what I mean? Like, I think that people have this misconception that if you're around other people, then you're automatically cool and chilling and not lonely, and you're happy and you have a good social life, so you're having a good time. But that's just like not the truth. Like, life is so much better when you can spend time alone, pick out the people who really lift you up and choose to invest your time with them, but otherwise be by yourself and work on yourself and enjoy that time. I hope this makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling at this point, but I just think that this is so valuable to learn. And I was one of those people who could never do it. And I just wanted to explain to you guys how important this is and why it's not sad or depressing. Like, it is the best thing ever. And it's really just like a form of self-love. And if you don't spend time alone, you're just neglecting yourself and the person that you could be because you're not taking time to reflect on who you are. You know what I mean? Like, guys, my roommate in college used to say that all the time. She'd be like, you know what I mean? And I think I picked that up from her. But anyway, love her. I'm going to go now. I'm going insane. But I hope this made sense. And let me know what podcast topics we want to cover next. I could do a whole other episode on what you could do to spend time alone, like self-date ideas. So let me know if you want that or what kind of episodes you guys want to see next. And I freaking love you guys. And I will talk to you in the next pod. Make sure you guys follow the podcast on Spotify if you're not already, or Apple Music, whatever you're listening to this on, because that's really cool and fun. And our episodes are going to be weekly now. So I'm really excited about this and I freaking love you guys. I hope you have the best day ever. And I'll talk to you soon. I love you. Mwah. Okay, bye.